folks, welcome back. We've got a brilliant episode of Whining About Pest Control. I am Shelby Hartzer of 360 Pest Consulting. And before we get started too far into this, go ahead and take a second, hit that subscribe button and like button down there so you don't miss out on any of my whining. I'll give you a minute. All right, today we're gonna whine about mice. Not your cute little Disney mice that sing and make you dinner. No, we are talking about the gross, disease-ridden, house-invading, food-destroying house mouse. And today I'm drinking an Australian Sauvignon Blanc from my friends down in Australia. They have literally had a mouse apocalypse for the last 2 years. Cheers. House mouse really are amazing little creatures. They're thought to have originated in India and started to spread out from there in about 13,000 BC. 13,000 BC! What this means is that they have had plenty of time to become adapted to everything humans have given them: food, water, shelter. They've also developed evasion tactics to all of our control methods. In other words, they've gotten really good about being pests. We're going to jump right into whining about control because there is a lot. We're skipping over sanitation and exclusion. We've already done an episode on sanitation. Exclusion is coming up. How do we deal with these little shits when they're outside the structure or have gotten into structures? We've got some options. Option one, particularly if they're still on the outside, we've got bait stations. With house mice, it's all about placement to make them as effective as possible. Remember that mice are small. They are a food source to just about anything that's bigger than them. So they want to stay hidden. They want to stay protected, sheltered. They like to run along those wall edges where at least one side of their body is tucked up against a wall. That's where your bait stations go. Along those wall edges, in those protected areas, dark, shaded, shadowed spots. If we put the stations in their path, where they're running, feeding, sheltering, they're much more likely to encounter them and enter them. Put that station in a wide open lawn, and the house mouse is never going to go there. It's never going to venture out into that big, scary open space. Option two, we've got traps. Traps can be used outside or inside, but predominantly I'd say they're used indoors. Just like with your bait stations, placement is going to be the difference between catching these little suckers and missing them entirely. Inside, we can also look for food sources, where their droppings might be, potential nesting areas. Get those traps right along those pathways. The house mouse is not going to travel too far from its nest site if there's food and water right nearby. Speaking of food, I gotta whine a minute here. All right, yes, food baits are good to have on snap traps. No, you do not need to put this huge gob of peanut butter on the trap. The mouse are just able to lick it off the outside and they'll never set off the trap. The key is to put that small amount, so the mouse has to stick its head all the way in there, and that's when the trap goes off. Speaking of peanut butter, remember that you cannot do this in a food facility or a warehouse storing food, or a school, or any other public building. Remember that many people have peanut allergies, so it's just better to use something else. Anything other than peanut butter. Third option, we have glue boards. Glue boards are becoming a hot button issue. Yes, glue boards catch mice, especially if they're placed in the right areas. Rewind this, look about placement. Unlike snap traps, the mouse doesn't die right away. This can be really disturbing to people. I'm not going to get in that discussion right now. I certainly don't have enough wine. What I will say is that if you're going to use glue boards for house mouse control, make sure they're contained inside a station or in an area that people are not going to see them. Think like a drop ceiling. People do not want to see a struggling, dying mouse and hear it squealing. It's not pretty. So use glue boards appropriately. So much more we can whine about house mice, and we will later when I have another glass. You don't have to be quiet as a mouse. Whine to me about your mice issues anytime. We've got some helpful resources down below, as well as links to our social media. Rate, review, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my fantastic whining. And until next time, here's to the happy little house mouse. Cheers.